Suburban quiet. Streetlights cast orange pools on empty sidewalks, then a rumble in the distance, growing louder. A cherry-red Trans Am, music blasting, tears through the night. Destination 14 Maple Drive, the place to be. Inside, the air crackled with anticipation. Cheap beer chilled in plastic tubs. A haze of Aquanet hung heavy, mingling with cigarette smoke. The stereo pulsed, a relentless beat shaking the floorboards. Tonight was for forgetting, for letting loose. Laughter echoed. Strangers became friends, united by the music and the promise of the night, but beneath the surface a subtle unease began to brew. Like a note played off-key, barely perceptible at first, a harbinger of things to come. Jessica nervously adjusted her neon-pink leg warmers. She had spent hours picking out the perfect outfit, wanting to make a good impression. The neon-pink leg warmers were a bold choice, but she hoped they would make her stand out in the crowd. Tonight was a big deal. It wasn't just any party. It was the first big high school party of the year, and everyone who was anyone would be there. The excitement was palpable, and Jessica could feel her heart racing with anticipation. Her first high school party. She had heard so much about these events, the stories of fun, drama, and unforgettable moments. She couldn't wait to experience it all for herself. Beside her, her best friend Kim applied another layer of blue eyeshadow, humming along to the music. Kim was the life of the party, always confident and full of energy. Jessica admired her friend's ability to light up any room they walked into. Excitement thrummed in the air. The room was buzzing with laughter and chatter as everyone prepared for the night ahead. It was a scene of youthful exuberance, a moment that felt like it could last forever. Across the room, Mark nursed a lukewarm beer, his eyes scanning the crowd. He was trying to find a familiar face, someone he could talk to. The party was in full swing, but he felt a bit out of place. He was older, a college freshman home for the weekend. The high school scene felt distant to him now, almost like a different world. He had come to the party out of curiosity, to see how things had changed. He'd seen it all before, or so he thought. The parties, the drama, the fleeting moments of teenage life. But something about tonight felt different, like there was an undercurrent of tension he couldn't quite place. A flicker of movement near the darkened hallway caught his eye. Someone watching. It was just a brief glimpse, but it sent a shiver down his spine. He wondered if it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. The music swelled, pulling him back into the present. The beat was infectious, and he could see people losing themselves in the rhythm, dancing without a care in the world. He shook off the feeling, attributing it to one too many beers. But the image lingered. He couldn't shake the sense that something was off, that there was more to the party than met the eye. A face, half hidden in the shadows, observing, waiting. It was a reminder that even in the midst of celebration, there could be an undercurrent of mystery, a hidden story waiting to unfold. The party raged on, fueled by youthful energy and cheap liquor, but the subtle discordance grew. A record skipped, repeating the same few seconds of a song, the jarring sound cutting through the revelry. Conversations faltered. Laughter died down. The lights flickered, plunging the room into momentary darkness. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Then, silence. Heavy, expectant. The music resumed, the lights steadied. But the carefree mood had shattered. Whispers started. Nervous glances were exchanged. The house, once a haven of carefree fun, now seemed to press in, suffocating. The air grew thick with unspoken fear. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Outside, a storm gathered. The sky was a canvas of dark, swirling clouds, illuminated sporadically by jagged streaks of lightning. The air was thick with the promise of rain, and the distant rumble of thunder grew louder with each passing moment. The wind howled, rattling the windows with a ferocity that seemed almost unnatural. Trees bent and swayed, their branches scratching against the house like skeletal fingers. It was as if the storm itself was trying to break in. Inside, the party continued, but the energy had shifted. What had started as a lively gathering now felt tense and uneasy. The dim lighting cast long shadows, and the faces of the partygoers reflected a growing sense of dread. The music now seemed too loud, the laughter forced. Conversations that once flowed freely were now stilted and awkward. The distorted sound from the loudspeakers only added to the surreal atmosphere. Shadows danced at the edges of the room, cast by the flickering lights. They seemed to move with a life of their own, twisting and contorting into shapes that defied explanation. It was as if the darkness itself was alive. A group huddled near the keg, their faces pale in the strobe lights. They whispered among themselves, their eyes darting nervously around the room. The once jovial atmosphere had turned into one of suspicion and fear. They spoke in hushed tones of strange occurrences, stories of objects moving on their own, of eerie whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Each tale was more unsettling than the last, feeding the growing sense of unease, objects moving on their own, disembodied whispers. It was as if the house itself was alive, watching and waiting. The air was thick with tension, and every creak and groan of the old house sent shivers down their spines. A cold spot near the fireplace, even with the fire roaring. It was an unnatural chill, one that seemed to seep into their very bones. No matter how close they stood to the flames, the cold remained, a constant reminder of the unseen presence. The rumors spread like wildfire, each retelling adding a layer of fear. What had started as a few isolated incidents had now become a full-blown haunting in the minds of the partygoers. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. The once vibrant party had transformed into a breeding ground for paranoia. Every shadow, every sound was a potential threat. The tension was palpable, and the air was thick with fear and uncertainty. No one dared speak the thought aloud, but it hung in the air. We're trapped. The sense of entrapment was overwhelming, as if the house itself had become a prison. The walls seemed to close in, and the once familiar surroundings now felt alien and hostile. The bathroom door creaked open, revealing a scene that sent a chill through the remaining partygoers. The once lively atmosphere of the party was instantly replaced by a suffocating sense of dread. The dim light from the bathroom cast eerie shadows, making the scene even more unsettling. Lisa, the girl with the infectious laugh and bright pink lipstick, lay sprawled on the floor. Her vibrant personality had always been the life of the party, but now, she was lifeless, a stark contrast to the energy she once radiated. The sight of her motionless body was a jarring reminder of how quickly things could change. Her eyes stared blankly at the ceiling, her face frozen in a silent scream. It was as if she had seen something so terrifying in her final moments that it had etched itself permanently onto her features. Panic erupted among the partygoers, their minds struggling to process the horror before them. Screams pierced the air, mixing with the relentless beat of the music. The once harmonious sounds of laughter and conversation were now replaced by cries of terror and confusion. The party had turned into a nightmare, and there was no waking up from it. The room emptied in a chaotic scramble for the exits. People pushed and shoved, desperate to escape the horror that had invaded their night. The sense of camaraderie that had once filled the room was now replaced by sheer panic and self-preservation. But the storm raged outside, trapping them within the walls of the house. There was no escape. The howling wind and torrential rain beat against the windows, creating an inescapable prison. The storm was relentless, mirroring the chaos inside. Mark pushed through the panicked crowd, his eyes fixed on Lisa's lifeless form. This wasn't a prank, this was real. The gravity of the situation hit him like a ton of bricks. He had to find out what had happened, and fast. And he had a sinking feeling it was just the beginning. The dread in his stomach grew as he realized that whatever had caused Lisa's death was still out there, lurking in the shadows. The night was far from over, and the true horror was yet to come.